Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks with another tutorial for ADSR and Sylenth1.com. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you want to do that, you can at youtube.com/ADSR Tuts. That was a quick demo of the sound we'll be making today in Sylenth. It is a kick drum sound, and you turn the distortion on halfway through, so you can actually kind of create like a hardstyle bass with it actually. Or just the kick. It's a really, really low-end subby kick. It would work with hip-hop, some genres of EDM, and it would actually be great for like the intro of your EDM parts because you can kind of control the low end of it. So first thing we are going to do, we'll mainly be working in part B for the sound, but we'll be doing a little bit in part A. So first thing I'm going to do is I will be jumping to a new instance of Sylenth. All right, and what we're going to do for part A, we're going to just turn the polyphony down to 1 for everything, and in part A we're going to turn it to a sine wave, detune it down to -3, keep the volume and the phase where they are, and the detune where it is, and the stereo we're going to turn down. And for the voices we're going to leave it on 1, and we're going to, for the amp envelope for this, we're going to change some of the settings. So for the decay we're going to turn it to 1.49. The sustain we're gonna take that down to just a pinch above 0, so like 0.6, 0.11, anywhere there should do. And then I'm going to turn the release up to about 4. So it's just a really low kick that I can't even really hear on my headphones right now. But we'll be doing some modulation with the pitch A and B, so it helps make the sound a little bit more snappy and crispy. So I will keep all that on, obviously. So that really pretty much sums it up for part A. I'm going to turn the cutoff down. We're going to keep the filter type there and keep the resonance and drive kind of where it is. We don't have to deal with that. So I'm going to turn the mix down to about 1.3. And for the bulk of this sound is going to be using part B. So I'm going to turn that up, make sure it's about 5. So going on to part B, what we're going to do in oscillator B1, we're going to pitch down the octave pitch to -2. And I'm going to select a sine wave. And we're going to keep the volume and phase where they are, detune, keep it where it is, turn the stereo down. And I'm going to give this 6 voices. Make sure you have retrig selected, so it retriggers the waveform every time it hits. Makes it more consistent for kick drum sounds. And the attack, you're going to keep obviously down at 0. You want the fastest attack possible for doing a kick to decay. The decay I'm going to turn up to about 4 or about 410, anywhere around there. So I saw 4.8. Let's do that. The sustain, I'm going to turn the sustain down. Kick drums don't ring out that long, so 1.38, 1.4 should be good. All right, and the release, going to give it a little bit of release just to let it breathe a little. I turn it up to about 3. All right, 3.26 is what I settled on. Okay, in oscillator B2, we're going to pitch that again down to -2. Make sure you have it selected on the sine wave. Make sure you have retrig selected. And we're just going to give this 1 voice. I'm going to turn the volume down to about 0.86. And I'll leave the stereo where it is on this one and not touch any of the other settings. So that's what we have so far. And now in the part B for the filter type, you could use a low pass and crank up the cutoff. I'm just going to keep it on bypass for this. And I'm going to obviously not touch the resonance or drive. All right, and now let's go down to the first modulation envelope for 1, and we're going to select pitch B, and we're going to do some subtle changes here. So we're going to take this, the little rotary knob, up to about 3. All right, and then I'm going to take the decay up just a little. See how it's starting to get that kick sound? I'm going to turn it to about 0.75. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do pitch A and B in modulation envelope 2. And I'm going to turn the decay up to 1.25 for this. Or 1.26, I guess. And then you can leave the rest at 0. Don't have to touch those. But we need to make sure that we're turning up the pitch a little bit. So I'm going to turn this to 1.7, around there. That's really giving it some snap. So now let's go to the second available slot in our modulation envelope 2. I'm going to select cutoff cut off A actually, and you're going to turn the knob, the rotary knob, up to about 3.3, anywhere around there should do. I'm going to turn the pitch B down a little bit. Alright, and that will pretty much do it for the modulation envelope. So let's go on to our source here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the amp envelope for A. And I'm going to select pitch A and B again. And for the for the source rotary knob, we're going to do 3.3. So you can hear how that's giving it a little bit more, even more attack. And you can take away the attack with this knob. So maybe I'll do it to about 1.5, 1.8 to 2, anywhere around there, whatever works for your needs. And for the let's drag in the cutoff again. So cutoff A, and I'm going to drag this up to 2.7. All right, so there is a pretty basic kind of a subby kick that we got going on. So it's a good sub right now. And if you want to take out some of the actual tonality of it, what we can do is you can just kind of mess with these pitch values. So on the decay settings. So I turned the decay up on the modulation envelope 2 to 3. Now it kind of has a trance kick sound. So you can play around with that and get and you get vastly different kick types, which is really, really cool. So let's go on to the effects. So in the effects section, I created a kind of a cool distortion effect using the clip distortion, and crank the amount, crank the dry wet, and you get kind of a cool hardstyle bass, which is pretty fun. And you can mess around with some of the dry wet settings too, which is so this would be a great trap bass actually. Using a little bit of distortion, and then I use a little bit of phaser to kind of thicken up the sound. I didn't do a whole lot of change with it. I just spread out the sound a little, turn down the dry wet, and the EQ. I had a little bit of EQ on here, so we'll turn that on. Let's turn the bass frequency down to about the bass down to about 6.4 dB. Turn up the frequency to about 359 hertz. 320 sounding good to my ear right now. And I'm going to turn the treble frequency down. Alright, and I also compressed it, kind of make it crispier and have a little bit more attack. So I think I cranked the ratio up to like a limiter type setting. I'm going to keep the threshold where it's at, the attack where it's at, and turn down the release to about probably anywhere around like 75 to 80 milliseconds. And that is the kick sound, and with the distortion again. All right, cool. So like I said, it's a cool sound for multiple types of genres like EDM, trap, hip-hop, hardstyle, anything like that. And you can also see how you can kind of create drums using the 2 modulation envelopes by modulating the decay of your pitch parameters for either part A or part B. So if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know below. And as always, thanks for checking it out. And if you haven't gone on over to Sylenth1.com, check it out. A bunch of new sound sets gone up. Obviously, a bunch of tutorials, everything Sylenth. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.